Welcome to the Group Training and Communication Skills e-learning training program. The training will enable you to prepare and deliver more productive distributor and team sales meetings, conduct professional sales training and brand education workshops, improve platform speaking and group communication skills, and learn new field training and coaching techniques. The bottom line benefit from this training is that you will learn to prepare better meetings in less time and be a more effective sales trainer. The program is conducted by Bob Brown. In addition to being president of Sales Systems Development, Inc., and prior to that, National Director of Sales Training for the E&J Gallo Winery, Bob has conducted over 500 seminars involving approximately 10,000 supplier and distributor sales and management personnel. His online e-learning training programs have been used by several hundred sales personnel since being introduced in just the last year. The actual group training and communication skills, or Train the Trainer workshop, has trained sales managers and sales training personnel in over 50 major beer, wine, spirits, and consumer packaged goods suppliers and wholesalers, several of whom have been conducting the program in-house for over a decade. The training is built around a 6-step group communication and teaching process, which focuses on how to motivate a group to listen and learn at a sales meeting or workshop, the 4 key competencies of an effective meeting leader or trainer, how to achieve the right mix of 5 communication techniques, guidelines for the effective use of PowerPoint and flip charts, public speaking and group communication skills, facilitation skills for managing discussions.
See, group communications and training. Why are we bothering to cover this? First of all, from your standpoint, your effectiveness in front of a group has a lot to do with your personal credibility, your reputation, and your ability to get things done. There's no question when you're in front of distributor teams, at general sales meetings, team meetings, your performance is being judged. It happens to be a major career factor as well. It is studied at the University of Minnesota, graduate students, graduate alumni. And one of the things they found was group communication skills, the ability to speak in public, was a key factor in one's ongoing success from a career standpoint. I think also you look here and your role with distributors is to multiply yourself. And one of the best ways you do that is when you are in front of them, right? You're reaching 4, 5, 10, 50 people maybe. And as a result, it has a lot to do with what you're able to get done. But the neat part of it is that while this is something that can benefit you professionally, things like public speaking and group communication are life skills as well. You're going to be able to use what you learn here in many dimensions of your personal life, not just in working with distributors. So let's take a look at what we're going to cover, looking at it from the standpoint of 3 broad scale goals, which will translate into 14 specific skill areas that we're going to concentrate on developing as we move forward. 3 goals. First one is we want to give you the background on the way people learn. The more you understand about the way that process operates, the more effective you can be. And you also get some guidelines in terms of some things to do and also some mistakes to avoid. Second, you're going to learn a systematic 6-step process for conducting effective sales meetings, training sessions, and generally facilitating discussions of many types, internally, externally. Third, specific techniques you're going to hone in on. Better review meetings. We want to see these skills being used when you're doing meetings, when you're involved in market planning meetings, and a lot of situations. We used to call this session conducting effective distributor sales meetings. And we decided that's not broad enough in terms of the scope in which these skills should be applied. So think about it in that context as well. The obvious general team meetings, general sales meetings, either for distributors or within the company. And lastly, you're going to pick up some ideas here. While we're going to talk about group communication, there are a lot of these ideas that you will see has application on a one-on-one basis when you're just out up and down the street. Things you can do to do a better job of getting ideas across. So those are the 3 general areas. And again, we'll concentrate on 14 specific learning objectives. Think about these as a basis for setting some personal objectives on what you want to take away from here. First, we're going to learn that 6-step process. We're going to look at 4 characteristics that have been identified as skills that have been developed by those who are most effective in group communication, training, and teaching people. And we're going to ask you to evaluate yourself on those. The more you understand about the way people learn, the needs of groups that have to be met, the better you can tailor what you're going to say and prepare what you're going to say. We're going to learn about how do you cut through the clutter. In some cases, at a distributor sales meeting, you may be the 7th one in line, and you're looking at people that are in a coma from the neck up, right? How do you break through that? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to spend a lot of time on initial motivation, as well as how do you keep them involved? How do you keep their attention? And this sometimes is something not just for a meeting that may go on for a little longer than normal, but how do they react to you the next time you come back? Are you someone that they tend to perk up to because whenever Jim gets in front of me, I walk away with something I can use out with my customers? Or is that not the case? We're going to be looking at 4 principles of information organization. Ideas that will enable you to make what you teach easier to follow, easier to understand, and then easier to apply. Before them, we'll go through. Within those are going to be 3 key teaching process steps. We'll talk about activities and the way you can use those to change pace. Big takeaway is, what you may have heard of, this all comes together, what we talked about up till now, and what we call the communications wheel. And you master the concepts that's involved in that. And one of the things that will happen is that you will conduct better meetings. You will prepare and conduct better meetings in less time. That's the payout if you learn it. Next one's usually one of the ones that's on the top of the list for folks. Platform speaking skills. How many people here experience a bit of anxiety when you're about to get in front of a group? How many? Raise your hands if that's the case. It's most folks. Some more, some less. We're going to get into dealing with that anxiety and how you can become, in a short time, more high impact when you're in front of groups. Even if you're good now, and many of you are, you'll pick up some ideas that'll make you better. We'll talk about MVG, movement, voice, and gestures. And the key to this, and the key to a lot of the ideas here, is one thing, and this determines how much you take away from here. People who get the most out of this, develop the most, and see the biggest short-term impact are the ones that push yourself out of your comfort zone. Out of your comfort zone to where you're doing some things differently, and you force yourself to that may be a little uncomfortable. Do that, and it's particularly in this area, and you'll see a difference. You'll see a difference. Key area we'll spend a lot of time on the appropriate mix of communication techniques. We'll talk about 5 of them. Which will lead into visual aids, are part of that. And we'll look at what are some of the do's and don'ts with PowerPoint. You've all suffered death by PowerPoint before, right? It's the modern technological tool that is now used as a device to bore people to death, like slide projectors used to do in the past. So we'll look at some ideas on how to work with that. And we'll also talk about these. This is a very simple but powerful tool. Learning how to use flip charts to, point 11, facilitate discussions. Facilitation skills are a skill that will become more important to you if you have the desire and do indeed move forward in management. We'll look at how well are people learning, checking comprehension, evaluating understanding, and also conducting effective role plays. It's one of those tools. It's probably one of the best skill development tools available to somebody who's training. But it's also one of the tools that if you don't do it right, don't do it at all. That's key. And then we'll get into a feedback process and work with that. That's what we're going to do. And the key areas we're going to get into.